Hi guys, last video of the Boone trilogy. Just wanted to sum up really the experience and just sort of talk to you a little bit about the lessons I learned on that trip. It's now actually the middle of December and the Boone challenge was way back mid-August, so I've left this video too long really to film. Why have I done that? Well, mainly it would be procrastination, I suppose, but you know, I have been quite busy. I think I did say in one of my my other videos. The wife's pregnant, the little one is almost here now, days away, so I've been busy prepping for that. But anyway, I thought I'd take the opportunity today, probably one of the first days of this winter, to have a really good ground frost. Absolutely beautiful sunshine, so I just really wanted to get out whilst I could and sort of finish this video off. I was up till 2 in the morning last night editing all the previous videos because they've just been sat there on my laptop ever since I got back, so I know I really need to sort of get this finished and uploaded. So by the time they're up on YouTube you'll be able to see all three, because I didn't want people waiting months for the last one. So really, yeah, I just wanted to go through a few lessons learned with you. I'll start off with the boring bits. Sound quality and video quality. Whilst I was editing the videos last night, I did sort of notice that the quality wasn't, you know, as I would have expected really from the camera I'm using. I think that's got a little bit something to do with, I did a little bit of reading a while back and sort of heard that you need to load the videos through the GoPro software, which I hadn't been doing. I'd just been putting them straight through Movie Maker. So I think the quality wasn't quite as it should be, so I apologise for that. I'm going to sort of make a bit more of a concerted effort now, and hopefully, you know, these next ones that get you will be a little bit better quality, but obviously let me know what you think. Sound quality was the other thing. The only weakness with the GoPro camera that I'm using is the mic on it is not, you know, ideal for this kind of thing. So as I'm talking to you now, the mic's on the back of the camera, so you know, you can probably hear me okay, but you know, I noticed when I was talking to you on the challenge, if I do this, turn the camera around now, show you something else, you know, I'm probably going to be coming through quite a bit louder now, which isn't ideal. It's just a bit unprofessional really, so yeah, as I was saying, you know, that's not ideal. You know, I have done a lot of looking around, see what other people use, because the sound quality on some of the guys I watch is superb. A lot of them use like separate microphone. Again, did a bit of digging, came across a Zoom microphone which seems quite popular, really good sound quality. I'd like to invest in one of those, but they're about 80-90 quid. I just don't really want to spend that at the moment, to be perfectly honest. You know, with the money I've got left now, there's still a few bits and pieces that I'd like to get kit-wise. You know, 80-90 quid, that's you know, an X-Bed Cinema XL 7, so you know, that's the kind of thing I'd rather be buying with that sort of money. But if you guys have any sort of hints or tips on something that I could use, this may be a little bit cheaper, sort of £20-25 region, then I'm all ears really. Obviously I can't plug it into this camera, it's not got the input, so I need to be recording on a completely separate device really. Now whether I can use my iPhone for that maybe, if that's an idea, for plugging an external mic into that, you know, you guys get back to me and let me know what you think, or you know, if you're making your own videos, then let me know what works for you. So yeah, that was a bit boring, bit of a boring way to start off the video, but I just wanted to explain myself really and sort of apologise for the quality of you know, what's come through up to now. As I say, hopefully this is a little bit better now. So yeah, I wanted to go through the lessons learned on the trip. You know, I learned an awful lot, to be honest with you. I'll start with location. Now for the Boone challenge, I'll be perfectly honest, I didn't know this location at all. I'd heard about it, someone had told me it was very nice. I'd heard that there was some woodland there, so I thought, yeah, great, perfect. Quite a bit of walking to do, which is what I wanted. So yeah, it sounded ideal, but I've got to be honest with you, it was just a little bit too harsh for the challenge. You know, not to say that it wasn't achievable, because I did do what I set out to do, but it was just a little bit harder than what it needed to be really. Would I change locations? You know, if I was going to do the challenge again, which I may do, then yes, I certainly would. I'd do it somewhere else. But in terms of the overall experience, I'm sort of really glad that I did do that, because I've learned quite a lot about mountain environment and the kind of kit that you need to use. I obviously went quite basic. I got cold at night despite the extra clothes I took. It made me chuckle a bit looking through editing the previous videos yesterday, you know, where I said that I probably wouldn't need a jumper. It was a bit overkill for August, but believe me, I needed it. It was cold. You know, I used every item of clothing that I took really to keep warm. I think the one mistake I made, which I'll come on to a bit later anyway, because we're going to cover sleep stuff separately, was, you know, I should have known this really. For every layer underneath you is worth 2 on top. Now the bedroll that I've got, you can actually sleep inside that, but obviously it's only half as thick if you do that. I made the mistake because I felt cold, I climbed into it. Well, obviously I've got less insulation underneath me then. I had no insulation mat, nothing. The bedroll does have a waterproof membrane on the bottom of it, so it wasn't like I got damp or anything, but you know, the cold could obviously transfer through to me much quicker. So you know, it was a bit unintelligent of me to do that really. I should have just bared with it and slept on top, and I think overall I'd have been warmer, you know, I would have been warmer overall. So that's a lesson learned for me, and I should have known that, you know. I did know that, but it just didn't occur to me at the time. You know what it's like when you're cold, you just want to wrap something around you. So yeah, you know, that was definitely a lesson learned with that. So yeah, coming back to the location, it was very exposed to have an open tarp. You know, obviously, ideally for something like a Boone challenge, you want to be in some woodland to have some natural cover, some natural shelter, and plenty of fuel as well. Because you know, I did say in my previous video that there just wasn't a lot of dead wood at all. We sort of made do with like the stuff that was dying off, but it wasn't completely dry. So it didn't burn as well as it should have. And to be honest with you, the heat factor that the fire gave off was next to minimal, because it was so windy, whatever heat there was just being carried straight off, and it was just a full-time job to feed that fire all the time. And I fully intend on going back there, but I'll be taking very different kit, and I won't be mucking about with fires, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, I needed a fire for the challenge because, you know, it was my way of you know, cooking my food. I didn't have anything else, and also to sort of clean the water, you know. I can't think of the word, but you know what I mean. You know, to make the water safe to drink. So, you know, I absolutely needed to keep that fire going. And I did say that, you know, one of my concerns was for it to go out and to try and get that started again. I had a limited supply of dry grass, so, you know, I was trying to keep that going as much as I could through the day, to keep sort of making more water safe to drink. And it was just a full-time job really, and it needn't be. It kind of, to a degree, it took the joy out of it while I was there. You know, looking back, I can say, yeah, I really enjoyed the experience. I learned so much from it, but at the time it was just constant work, feeding the fire, boiling more and more water, because you're getting through it quite quick. So yeah, that was one thing I learned. It was a beautiful location, and as I say, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna film there again, but this time it'll be with very, very different kit. I said at the time, you know, that I really fancied a tent after that. Not long after, I did go out and buy a tent. Now, I love my tarp. It'll definitely be my shelter choice in woodland and things like that. But for exposed places like that, you really can beat a tent. So, you know, I'm glad to have one now. So that's the location part of it. Obviously, I've touched on clothing already. You know, simply put, I needed every piece of clothing I had, and I would have been a lot warmer had I had better quality clothing. I've since gone out over the last couple of weeks really, and really upgraded on my clothing, because it was the one thing that I was really lacking. I was using sort of old kit. Some of it, you know, it is good kit, like that jumper I told you about, the army jumper. You know, if you haven't got a lot of money, 18 quid, it is really warm. But compare that, you know, I've got a down jacket now, which I'll show you in a separate video. It's half the weight and, you know, easily 2-3 times as warm. So it does come down to money. You know, had I had that at the time, I probably would have slept quite comfortably on top of that mat, you know, and not worried at all. On top of that bedroll, sorry. So it's just things like that, you know, clothing wise. I needed everything that I had to hand just to try and keep myself warm. I did sort of shiver a little bit through the night. I wasn't hypothermic or anything, you know, it's August, for goodness sake, but, you know, you'd be surprised how much the wind chill reduced the temperature down. What else was I going to say? Yeah, so clothing wise, the other thing I would say as well is hat. Now, I've put my hat away so I can't show you, but you saw the hat I was wearing in the video. Again, just cheap military stuff, you know, £4 I think it was, something like that. As you know, it's a good hat. It serves its purpose 90% of the time. When you're up on an exposed mountain, you need something that's windproof, I think, because although it's warm, it wasn't windproof by any means, and I think it would have made a difference had I had a better quality windproof hat. So that was something else I learned. Sleep gear I've kind of covered with you now, really, about the bedroll. Obviously, ideally, you know, in that kind of environment you need a sleeping bag, so again, when I go back I'll have my tent, I'll have my sleeping bag. The bedroll would have been perfect had I been, you know, more naturally sheltered in the woodlands, but you know, another lesson learned. Water purification, again, I touched on it. It was really difficult. I just felt like it was a constant chore, because, you know, I only took my billy can, so I could only purify you know, around a litre of water at a time, and some of the other guys were using that as quick as I could purify it as well, quick as I could boil it, so that was a bit annoying. But you know, I was making brews for the guys and everything, just keeping everyone warm, and it you know, you need to be taking on fluids throughout the day. You know, we were quite busy really, just sort of keeping the fire going, doing bits and pieces around camp, and you do need to keep yourself hydrated for obvious reasons. My friend Lloyd, he's got one of those soya filters. I'd definitely be investing in one of those. They're not particularly expensive, under 30 quid. He took that with him because he wasn't technically doing the challenge. He sort of came sort of with me just for some support, really, as did the other guys. But yeah, I was dead jealous of that, because it just sort of made the water safe to drink, you know, in a fraction of the time really than I was having to do with my water. So again, you know, for 30 quid I think it's definitely something that is good for taking out. You know, it's very light, takes next to no room. Definitely be invested in one. Fire, you know, I touched on obviously fueling the fire was a problem, but the preparation element, you know, it was really important that I took the time that day. I edited a lot of stuff out of the original video because it just wasn't really stuff that I wanted in there. It didn't really add much value to the overall video, but I did spend a long time over my walk. I was walking for probably 6.5 to 7 hours, constant, and I was collecting stuff to dry in my pockets all the time. Literally, by the time I finished, these pockets and these combat trousers, they were like out here. And I also had, I don't know if you saw in the video, but I had one of those Max Edition roly-poly pouches. Just rolls up tiny on your belt, but I had that, you know, fully sort of out, and I was collecting all sorts and putting it in there. I ended up with a nice big bundle, but you know, to be honest, over the 2 days I needed it, you know, getting the fire started on the first day, and then getting it relit the next day. I did use pretty much all of it, so you know, had I been there for much longer and needed to start a fire again, it could have been a problem, but luckily, you know, I had the foresight to make sure that I collected plenty. I can't stress that enough. You know, if you're going to do something like this, as soon as you get somewhere, if you're going to try and make natural fire with natural materials, it's the first thing that should be on your mind, really, is just start collecting, because even if it's damp when you collect it, you're walking 5-6 hours and it's in your pocket next to your body heat. It should be good to go by the time that you've set up camp. So I'm glad I sort of, you know, took that seriously when I first started. I just really wanted to finalise on the subject of dehydration. You know, that was the biggest risk, particularly on the first day when I was on my own. Obviously I met up with Lloyd in the evening, and like I said in the video, it was probably a good job that I did, to be honest. I don't think, you know, it was quite as extreme as my life being in danger or anything, but I was definitely quite badly dehydrated. You know, and I was eating my bread and cheese in the evening, and it just wasn't going down because I just didn't have any, you know, sounds a bit gross, doesn't it, but I didn't have any saliva in my mouth. My mouth was just like completely dry, so it's really hard to digest my food when I was eating. Obviously I had taken water on by that point because it was, you know, it was the most important thing at that point, but you know, obviously it takes a while to get that back into your system. So you know, in hindsight again, and I guess this comes back to location, if I'd have just been going into a woodland environment, you know, my walking would never have been as far as it had been. Like I said, I spent 6 to 7 hours walking, whereas in actual fact, you know, if I'd been doing, ideally you know, an hour, 2 hours tops, which is more than enough. You know, one of these, now when you've set up you can refill no problem, but 6-7 hours on 1 litre, you know, obviously no way enough. I had quite bad headache, just couldn't really sort of motivate myself very well to set up camp. I knew it was important, so I did do it, but it wasn't something I wanted to do. And then obviously I had to get all the materials together for the fire, collect enough fuel, prep the fuel, get all that going. You know, it was quite a bit of work, and although I'm confident that I would have done it on my own, it would have taken me twice as long, and I'd have been in an even worse state by then, probably had sort of a really bad headache, and have maybe possibly even felt slightly sick. So, you know, it was a really sort of important lesson to learn, really, that it was just a wrong location for that challenge. And it you know, in defence of the original post, you know, it did say only take a litre of water in if it's safe, so that was my error, and you know, nobody else's stupidity really, other than my own. So you know, that's really just to sum up the video. Don't want to make it too long, but that's my lessons learned. Hopefully that's of help to you. But you know, overall, like I say, a lot of lessons learned. Some, you know, it was a pretty hard time, but I got through it. I did everything I needed to, and you know, looking back, it was a brilliant experience. I'm really glad to have done it, and I've learned a lot from it. And you know, that's what it's all about. And it's not put me off. I want to go back to the same location, but obviously with different kit. And I want to do the Boone challenge again in more of a woodland setting. So I'll look at doing that again, and obviously let you know how I get on with that. So that's really it to sum up the videos. Hopefully you've enjoyed them. I'm trying to get a little bit more used to doing this sort of thing. This is about my 4th video now, I think, so hopefully things are getting better. But you know, drop me some feedback, as I've said in most of my other videos, I think. I'll add a link as well to the forum, just so you can see, you know, what I'm talking about basically with this challenge, so you can just go and have a read. It's quite good. There's a few other guys that have done the same thing and put a lot of pictures up, showing what they've done. So yeah, really good. You know, get yourselves out there and give it a go, and let me know how you get on. Cheers.